of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, those fighting the good fight in the Ukraine, and in memory of those that passed both on that day of 9/11 and moving forward. Thank you. Sal, do we have anybody for public participation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tony?
Hi, Tom.
Good evening. My name is Tony Morrissey, Mine Hill Road in Milford, Connecticut. I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. First, to say thank you to the great town of New Milford for joining us in our second annual Overdose Recovery and Awareness Weekend. I'd like to thank members from both sides for their engagement. I'd like to thank Mr. Bass for meeting with us, for raising the awareness flag to start the celebrations that weekend, and the honoraries, if you will. I'd like to thank the Democratic Town Council, our committee, for helping us with the memorial signs for our luminary presentation, which was extremely powerful and moving. I'm also here tonight to talk about the opioid settlement funds and a little bit about what folks in our organization are concerned about. We're concerned that we're still not all in. Although we've had really good participation and engagement, the town is not all in. And with the settlement funds that have come in through the pharmaceutical companies, thanks to the good work of Mr. Tong and his team, we know that there was a disbursement made not too long ago, and that some of that disbursement trickles down to all of the municipalities within Connecticut. We want to provide ideas and suggestions for how best to utilize those funds. As you may recall, back in the early part of this year, there was a stipend given to some of the recovery homes. That's probably the single best place to spend those funds. What people need is time in recovery, time to advance their sobriety. And we have some very good facilities here in New Milford. Unfortunately, the amount that was earmarked not too long ago just simply wasn't enough. I came here in January and I said so. And here I am, not even a year later, telling you that those funds are pretty much depleted and it wasn't enough. My hope, my aspiration is that we will earmark and really reserve those funds from the opioid settlement, not just from this year, but from years in the future, to be dedicated exclusively to help the people and the residents and the children of our town that are still struggling. My son died 3 years ago, but this is not about my son. This is about our entire community. This year, we've had more people in this very community die. The pattern continues because the work is incomplete. The pattern continues because the work is incomplete. We are not done. No one should be celebrating a victory. There's a lot of work to still do. We should also be helping organizations that help to spread awareness. I'm baffled why today I received a $3,000 bill in the mail for police services for a free event. When we're a nonprofit, we only raised $3,000. You folks are charging us to bring an awareness campaign to a town to help save our residents. We are not partnered. We're not all in. We are your partners. We are not your adversaries. We need to get together. We need to continue the conversation. We need to talk about what is the best way to spend these funds. Awareness events matter. We handed out over 200 Narcan kits in one day, right here in New Milford. 200 Narcan kits. Everyone can save a life. Okay, whether you like Narcan or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is, Narcan saves lives. We handed out 200 in one day. And we're being charged $3,000 to put that event on. That's just the folks, the thousands of people that I represent, the grieving families that I represent, and there are many right here in New Milford, are furious about this. And so we're going to pay the bill, but I'm telling you that like this is not sustainable. Not when the town is sitting on thousands of dollars from an opioid settlement, and the nonprofits that are struggling to bring awareness and to bring solutions to the problem are being charged. I'm begging you, please, let's sit down and have a real conversation about not just the opioid settlement money, but any other factors that may be in play, okay? What's going on with the schools? I have 2 grandchildren that are going to a school that is not prepared to deal with how to see them through their academic career. And my 2 grandchildren are not the only ones in this town. There's a whole generation of children that don't have programming specifically customized for their needs. That is a problem. If that goes untended, those children are at high risk to really see the same fate as their parents or their loved ones. And the final thing I'm going to say and ask, and not say, the thing I'm going to ask.
You got 15 seconds, sir.
The final thing I'm going to plead, we must work something out with New Milford Hospital so that when we have a moment of crisis, we have a safe harbor for these folks to go to until a bed opens. The days of giving somebody a phone number, telling them to call and wait on hold for 3 hours just to be told that they got to call back tomorrow need to end in order for us to stop the epidemic. And it is an epidemic. The last request I'm going to make is that we please start publishing, like we do for COVID, how this is impacting our community. It will stagger you. Please sit down with Mrs. Morrissey and ask her for the last 10 years worth of data. Sit down when you get that data. You're gonna be stymied. Too many residents have passed because of this epidemic. Please, I'm begging you, let us come together with you to figure out these solutions. We're always open for a conversation. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. God bless.
Thank you, Tom.
I have 5 minutes then.
Okay.
I'm gonna time myself too, just to be fair.
Okay.
What's that? Half an hour? Is that okay? No? All right. So item 6 on the agenda today, we have a Paul Murphy, Sal Rinkowitz, 6 Wintenack Drive, New Milford, Connecticut. So item 6 on the agenda, we have a Paul Murphy to be taking a seat as a town council. I've known Paul for quite a few years. I've interacted with him. I know he's dedicated to this town. Anytime I called him, he always gave me advice, help. He helped not only me, but many, many people. Paul is a veteran, so I'm pleased that we're going to have a veterans representation in town council. One of the voices is going to be veterans, which is very important in this town. That's my personal opinion, and many of New Milford residents. So I strongly support Paul for the town council nomination and the agenda number 6 today. And I have 4 minutes left. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
That's it, sir.
Okay. Katie?
Yes, I'd like to suspend the rules to add to the agenda item 7A, which is a road closure application we have for Run Santa Run, which is going to be done on Youngs Field Road from the tennis court up to the Medenstill building.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to, sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to make
November
a motion
26th.
to add to the agenda under number 11, under the discussion about the Arpa funds, to add a discussion about using $3,000 to reimburse Tony's organization for the police.
Okay, so
You're asking
Of the
to
ARPA
suspend the
funds.
rules to add that item? I'm sorry, I didn't hear, okay.
well,
The discussion.
have a discussion on it.
Suspend the rules for item 11C, discussion of,
Adding for discussion about
Gotcha.
reimbursing Tony Morrissey's organization for the $3,000 for the police.
okay, I got it.
What is Tony's, what's your organization
Brian Cody's Brothers and Sisters Foundation. We're a nonprofit 501c3.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of adding it to the agenda?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. What?
I'd like to make a motion to switch the order of the reappointment versus, have the reappointments come first before the appointments, because the discussions will probably be much longer for the appointments. So just to put.
I don't know that they'd be much longer. That's up to you, Mayor. Do you want to switch the point? I don't,
It's up to the council.
I don't see any reason to.
I think the discussions are going to be longer, so for the reappointment, because it's a reappointment, we could just have that before the sort of more,
What difference does it make?
Well, she can make the motion, so make it second, and you can vote on it.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay.
I don't see that, man.
Okay. All right.
I don't,
Okay.
okay?
Any other motions?
Okay.
All right.
So,
Katie?
moving on, I'd like to move to accept item 3, the consent agenda, item A, minutes, B, tax collector, and item C, which is Parks and Rec, requesting permission to accept donations for their 8-mile and 5K road races, $250 from First Step Marketing, $500 from Circle Asphalt, $500 from New Vance Health, and they are requesting this money be deposited into the Recreation Revenue Account number 104-50500-44709. The New Milford Parks and Recreation Commission would like to thank these donors for their generosity. And then item 3D, which is the New Milford Police Department, was requesting permission to accept a $100 donation from Tina Rosselli as a thank you for service.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank
Okay.
you.
Item number 5, mayor's comments.
Thank you, Katie. First, starting out, as we do each and every town council meeting, we give the COVID number updates. As we say before, these are numbers in totality, not how many people have it currently. And the reason why we continue to do this is I still have residents that are immune compromised or family members or friends that are, and they like to have these numbers so that they can make their plans moving forward. State of Connecticut is at 881,831. Litchfield County is at 37,400, which is up 81 from Thursday. Hospitalizations for the entire county is at 10, which was unchanged. New Milford's at 5,533, which is up 10 from Thursday. Vaccine statistics from the 8th of September with a 10-day look back. First dose is at 22,785, which is 85% of our population. Fully vaccinated is at 21,113, which is 78.77%. We're still offering vaccine clinics at Pettibone on September 14th from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Those ages 12 and above. You can sign up for an appointment. You can go to either our webpage on the top and click the hyperlink there, or you can go to the Housatonic Valley Health District directly and schedule your appointments. This also includes the Pfizer COVID bivalent booster vaccines, which are available as well. Also on September 21st, from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m., those are ages from 5 to 11. And on September 28th, from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m., again, those ages 12 and above. I'd like to thank everyone that attended our 9/11 ceremony that was here in New Milford on Sunday. Thank you to the 9/11 Memorial Maintenance Committee Chairman Dan Sullivan and the entire committee for their service. Thank you to all our first responders, our veterans, our scouts, our cadets, and the public, which was very well attended, celebrating and honoring those people that gave their lives for 9/11. And some continue to do so through medical issues that happened and befallen them because of their service. Especially wanted to thank Rich Miller, who gave a first-hand account of 9/11 as he was there as a first responder. I want to thank State Representative Buckby, State Representative Callahan, Chief Ceruto for their words of encouragement. Also want to thank State Representative from Brookfield, Steve Harding, for attending and showing his resolve with us here in New Milford. Also want to thank Reverend Gambone for the invocation, and Holly McCreary that did a wonderful job with the national anthem as she did last year as well. Also, can't have a ceremony without Pat McGuire on the bagpipes playing Amazing Grace. So thank you very much for that. Also want to thank all of our veterans from Post 1672, American Legion Post 31. Also Marine veteran Warren Hingle for his presentation of the colors as well. Without our veterans, we couldn't do these ceremonies, and we wouldn't be a country. So I can't thank you enough for that. Our infrastructure projects continue to move forward, starting off, and Jack Healy's here, and I'll ask him in a few months to give us a little bit of a more brief update when it comes to the New Milford High School Fire Project. Good news is, that most of us already know, kids are in school, which is great. So an outstanding job, Jack, Tim, all those guys that put together a project should have taken a year. We did it in 6 weeks. So can't thank Belfor, our contractor. Can't thank our facilities team, both on the Board of Ed. Can't thank our DPW team. Can't thank, teachers, staff. I mean, everybody just worked together to make this for the kids. What was really great was the first day of school. I was there with Dr. Pattyfoot, and we were welcoming the kids in here. And she said something that I found that just said it all, was the kids didn't know the difference. They just went to school. Some of them were half asleep, right? Some were just like, oh, I'm back in school. But it was just the normalcy of it, especially after these years of COVID, where kids had a normal opening, which was great. And, talking with Wendy Fallenbach, our Board of Ed chair, and Holly Hollander as well. I also went up to Northville, but all the other schools kind of the similar vein. So it was great for our district. So thank you to everyone with that. As far as the high school, the reconstruction, they completed cleaning the fireproofing, doing the fireproofing application. They're doing duct cleaning in the third floor area, which is kind of segmented away from everybody. They're continuing the roof repair in the area where the fire began. They're continuing the electrical evaluation and repair of those same areas. Jack, is there anything else that you would like to add to the council concerning the New Milford High School fire project, that part of, I'm going to call it the reconstruction phase?
I think you hit all the high points there. Primarily, most of the classrooms are operational, and that crossover that are not, those will be done probably by the end of September. And then there's just some small incidentals that we'll be doing throughout the rest of the fall, getting some casework in, the things that are just, like we've all heard for the last couple of years, long lead time items, delivery issues, but everything will be in by Christmas. Everything will be there. But right now, they are able to use all but 3 classrooms.
And then, Jack, going to kind of the second phase of this project, which is the repair of where the actual fire damage was, which is to the roof, which is Belfor and their subcontractor.
Yeah, Belfor, we were down there today, and unfortunately, I think we're going to have testing weather tomorrow. But they, the first day of school, we had a few leaks here and there. Nothing that impacted the. It was funny. We were standing there in the hallway, and I think the kids were oblivious that they were having too much fun coming back to school. We had some leaks. I was there today with Kevin. We did an inspection. I would say that we're in good shape, and tomorrow we'll take a walk around. But I think the areas that were impacted have been corrected since last week.
And then lastly, Jack, obviously, is the completion of about 40% what's left of our standing seam project, and bringing in the contractor to complete that.
Yep. I sent an email again, Mayor, around 2 o'clock today to the bond agent, and he assured me that the contract was all drafted. He was expecting signatures this afternoon. What I'll do again tomorrow morning is send him an email and ask him. And as we talked on Friday, it would be about 1 week from the time we sign the contract to when they start work.
And our contractor will be Greenwood.
Yeah, that's at this point. That's what's on the contract.
And for those that don't know about Greenwood, they're either the largest or second largest roofer that would be within the state. So they have the manpower and the bandwidth to do this job, A, properly, and B, in a much quicker time than the former contractor did.
Originally, in the original bid, they were one of the contracts who bid, but they didn't win the bid, but they were talking about doing this project in 60 days. So I expect that you'll see, 50 or 60 people on site once they start.
Amazing. Councilman?
And we have all the material we need to complete it?
Yep.
Yeah, we took possession of the material. The mayor asked us to take possession of the material. It's stored on site. One of the things that I've sent back to the contractors, they need to do an inventory of everything that we've got stored, to make sure that, because in the movement and everything, there may be a few damaged panels and things. Steve Botello, who represents Garland, he was there the day we offloaded everything. He watched us move the materials. Steve will be present when Greenwood starts, and he'll go through the inventory with them.
Great.
Excellent. And then moving on to continued infrastructure
Excuse me,
projects.
sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I ask one more question of Jeff?
Absolutely.
Okay. When will they work? Every day, during the day, weekends, nights?
That we're working, well, not nights, but we're working on that. One of our concerns is as we're getting later into the fall, is you start getting dampness on the roof and things like that will slow them down. The plan currently is to utilize the same process we had before, as far as notifying the school. We will meet every day before work starts. We'll go through a work plan and safety plan with the school, the principal of the school, also the facilities manager of schools, Matt Cunningham, are involved with this. They make sure that they go through the plan and are satisfied that the areas that we're going to work on will not, hinder the kids in their learning.
Great, thank you.
Also, Jack, just for the reassurance of the council and those watching tonight or during the recordings. So, obviously, Jack, you've offered your assistance to be there daily.
Yep.
We're also going to have Garland's representative there to make sure that the standing seam is completed so that the warranty is complete and correct. Also going to have Dean Petroselli, which is our architect of record. So we have many, many eyes that are on this project, correct?
And Tim.
Yep.
And Tim.
Clark.
Yeah,
Tim's still involved? Wow.
Tim, Dean, and I told the mayor that I would start there every day in the morning to make sure that we got off, we understood where they were going to work. And as soon as I mentioned I was going to be there, Tim volunteered, stepped up and said he would be there. And Dean lives in New Milford, and Dean stepped right up and said he was going to stop. So we're going to have multiple eyes on, and Steve will continue to be there, and Matt's on site. So we're going to continue to have a lot of oversight on this project. The municipal building committee is expecting that. So I think there will be a considerable amount of oversight on this from here to the conclusion.
Excellent.
Somebody get it coming on the phone or
I
I don't know.
getting off the phone?
Mary Jane, are you still there?
Okay. So, road work, we continue with our road program. So far completed with the reconstruction, east end of Hine Road, Elena Drive, Twin Ridge, Twin Brooks, Violet Hill, Dodd, Cedar, Squash Hollow, Lover's Leap Road, Taylor Street. Drainage works completed so far, Colonial Ridge, Squash Hollow, Twin Ridge, Mine Hill, Brentwood Charter Cobbler, which was part of last year's one, Bonneview, Chapin, Taylor Street, Fort Hill, and Meadowwood Drive. Reconstruction work still in process. Creamery, Chapin, Violet Hill, Bonneview, and Taylor Street. And we're looking to complete all this, am I correct, Jack? Probably first week or so in November? Yes. And so outstanding work not only to our contractors, but our DPW team as we continue to move forward. Also on our bridge projects, we've already completed this year Tamarack Bridge, also completed Gaylord, we're just waiting for the railing, right, Jack, for that one, and Mud Pond. Also, we are going to be going, Jack, can you give a brief update to the council on Chernivtsi Bridge?
I sent out a confirmation to all the parties involved with that today. The supply, Acro is expecting to deliver the bridge to the site on Wednesday. M&O will be there to offload the bridge from the trucks. M&O is expecting the delivery. We'll offload the precast abutments on Thursday. And they expect to start to get some preliminary work on Friday, but they, from what my understanding is from M&O, is that they will hit it first thing next week, and 2 to 3 weeks the bridge should be installed.
Outstanding. Also, we have, is it 52 or 54 bridges in New Milford, Jack?
No, actually, Mayor, according to the state inventory, we have 70.
Okay.
Now, some of these are, they're pipes and things, but they
Right.
qualify under the state listing as 70 bridges.
And for the edification of our council and those in the public, some of these bridges, as was our road system, are in sorely need of repair. So Jack's team, we continue with work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation, as well as our Department of Environmental Protection, DEEP, and our Army of Corps of Engineers. We continue to look at these bridges, and they're going to be in our 5-year capital plan as we continue to move forward. And the reason why I bring that up is we had a public meeting for the Marriott Bridge. So we wanted to hear from our residents about how that bridge impacts them when we're going to be doing the work and how we can make it a better situation. So we'll be bringing that back to the council after we have our next public meeting. And speaking with Jack, that's something that we want to continue to do, is to continue to make sure that our public knows that we're going to be doing these big infrastructure projects moving forward.
Yeah. In the inland wetlands, I went to inland wetlands on Thursday. They appreciate that we had the public meeting before the wetlands meeting so that they can concentrate on the wetlands issues and not the things that don't pertain to what their review is. So the meeting on Thursday with the wetlands was, I thought, very productive, and we made some really good move on that.
And Connecticut DOT, they're working on Van Car and Sand Bridge,
Yep.
Sand Road bridges. So we're continuing with that as well. And again, it's an infrastructure effort that we need to really maintain not only our road system, but our bridge system as well. Also, staying on with more things that we're doing, we're partnering with our Board of Education partners, our ambulance barn as well, as we're doing this energy project. And as we all know, it's a $15 million project where we're using the savings because of bringing in more efficient capital, and we're driving that and using those efficiencies to pay for the work. So Jack, if you kind of give a brief update to the council on this particular project and where we are.
There'll be solar panels installed shortly behind the police department. If you go up there now, you'll see where the bank behind the police department, the trees were cleared. So everything's been approved, and so those panels will be in very shortly. They're at the ambulance facility. They are doing the design work now for solar panels to go there, and they are going through and retrofitting the lights for them, which was good. They got to save on some light bulbs. In the schools, I am meeting this week with the company ESG. I have to sign off on a lot of what they do before we can go back and get our reimbursement for Eversource. Unfortunately, one of the biggest reimbursements we get was from the high school. And I had started to do the review just before the fire, so obviously we stopped doing the review. Now that the light bulbs are all back in place, I'll finish that review this week. And so we'll be doing this week and next week all of the reviews to get all of our Eversource our reimbursements lined up for that. They are currently looking at designed solar panels to go on Sarah Noble. We're just finalizing the approval for the installation there. They're at Hill and Plain, installing solar panels at Hill and Plain, and we're starting design work for putting solar panels at Northville and at Scotticoke also. The boilers have been installed in most of the schools already, and the cogen system at the high school has been placed on the pad. We'll start installation starting in October to do that. And we got to change out the cooling towers in October at the high school also.
And I know, Jack, monetarily, it's a win-win for the town, but also we're looking environmentally. So it's going to save thousands and thousands of pounds of carbon that we're going to be taking offline by using this stuff. And I heard, I want to make sure that I'm right, it's over 3,400 trees is kind of this replacement of what we're doing, is we're taking this carbon offline.
I think that's the number, Mayor. It goes back and forth. But, we're also looking at other facilities in town, and we keep expanding what we're trying to do. We're also looking at some EV charging stations right today also. So we are looking at many.
With credit card.
Yes, credit card operation, yes. Absolutely.
We're not charging anybody's car for free anymore.
No. But one of the things that we are doing also when we do as we design the new public works facility, the design is to be carbon neutral or better. I know carbon neutral sounds good, but that still means you're using carbon. So the idea is to try to even be better than that. So we are incorporating as much new technology in the design as we can as we move forward.
And Jack, staying on infrastructure, so we have sidewalks that we've been working with the state now. Obviously, COVID pushed us back some with the design engineer, so those will run across the high school. We have some that's going to come down from Canterbury School.
Yeah.
Some that are going to be coming around both sides of Pettibone.
Yep.
So if you could give an update to the council on where we are with the sidewalk project.
All the preliminary plans have been completed. We had a Zoom public meeting on those. They aren't well attended, but we did have it. And the final design is going on right now. And as the mayor said, it starts in front of, actually, we've extended to the far end of the high school. It will go from there all the way to Pettibone on Route 7. So you'll be able to continuously walk all the way down. There is also a sidewalk plan for going around Pettibone School. And then the one that goes up to Canterbury School. The design work will be completed this winter. We'll approve it probably later this fall. And what we'll do is go out to bid in the spring. And the plan is to start construction next spring or next summer to install the sidewalks.
And Jack, we'll talk a little bit more about American Relief Funding and what projects we've done. But one of the major components was doing Reservoir Dam.
Yep.
Where are we with that so far?
On that one, the Public Works has gone up and cleared all the trees off the backside of the dam. We've done some contouring up there. We actually planted native flowers. We figured we'd do that when we were there. The engineering firm that we've used has both. It sounds funny, but both partners retired at the same time. So we are out right now. I expect to publish a RFP this week for the replacement of those two gentlemen, and the funds will be used for the replacement of the spillway. If you go there, you'll see the spillway. It was originally masonry. At some point, the masonry must have started to be compromised. They put a steel frame in. The idea is that we will take out that spillway in the frame and come back with another type of a overflow for the dam. One of the options is to lower the level, and we've opted not to do that. It's too much of a recreational area. You had a public hearing on that,
Yep.
and we heard everybody. So I'm actually very happy that the public came out that way. It's a great place to go sit, and we'll have that design and probably go out to bid next spring on that.
And Jack, lastly, cannot thank you, Mike Boucher, Sinopoli, for that beautiful 9/11 monument that we did. I mean, it was just absolutely gorgeous and done on time prior to our ceremony. So again, many thanks on behalf of the town for those that have seen that new 9/11 monument. And if you haven't, please go and check it out on Patriots Way. It's absolutely
Great improvement.
If I can just add Dave Martin and the
absolutely in
facilities.
facilities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They went up, and each of our groups participated. Dave and facilities did the electrical work. They helped. They worked with the 9/11 facility, picked out the lights and everything. So facilities, the 9/11 group's been involved. Mike is and Highway obviously did, trim the trees. Made all the coordination with Sinopoli to get the flagpole here. It's funny. It's hard to get a flagpole these days, but we got the flagpole here. And now what you'll see is the mums that are there. We're going to move the mums from there to the Route 7 triangle. We're going to see that that's going to have some bumps with there to make it pop when you come into town. And we have some shrubbery, native shrubbery, non-native, not invasive, shrubbery to go there and some concrete benches. It'll be a nice place for somebody to go and reflect.
Absolutely. Hillary?
Yeah, I just had one question in the infrastructure conversation. The 70 bridges, have been gone through the whole Cherninsky
Yeah.
debate, all of us, and also being really aware, since I was part of the sustainable writing about the waterways of New Milford, which are wonderful and very precious. I'm just wondering, and the public has weighed in, on the POCD, saying that the water of New Milford is one of the most important resources that we have. So my question is, if the public does want to be involved or understand how the choices for all of those different bridges is happening, is it at the inland wetlands place, or would it be, how would they weigh in on, is it going to be done most environmentally protective,
I would
so
think
the free-flowing bridge, all those kinds of conversations?
Well, first we have, when you look at a bridge, from the water up, we don't have a lot to say. It's a very procedural type of a thing to do. Because DEP weighs in, we have to meet the Army Corps of Engineers requirements, and depending on where the bridge, if it's a an 80-20 bridge or a 50-50 bridge. We have to work with DOT. Now, that being said, it doesn't take away from in fact, if anything, they weigh in on the environmental issues. You know, you have to make sure that you have a certain amount of flow through the bridge. In the case, if we don't mind, I'll talk about Marriott for a moment. Marriott Bridge, if you look at it now, it's a 20-foot span. When we're done, this is going to be a 40-foot span bridge. Part of the reason is when the bridge was initially put in, they restricted the flow through the bridge. And what Army Corps and DEP is saying is that shouldn't have been done. And so in order to get the rivers and streams back to what they are, they want us to open those up. So what you're going to see on several of these bridges is that the span, not the width, but just the span may be extended so that we open these up again to 1.2 times the bank width. What that means is if the bank width below and above are wider than when it goes through the narrows, we're going to have to open that up. And so far, I know Tamarack, it seemed like it took us forever to finally come to an agreement, but if you go up to Tamarack, I think it's really nice now. The grass is growing. We've got a new aluminum culvert there, and that one there was an awful lot of input by DEP and Army Corps. We met up there several times with DEP, making sure that they were balancing whether the bridge should be wider, or it sounds funny, but more narrow. They were concerned that if we opened it too much, the flow would be too much through there, and you would see the wetlands drop down. So that was very carefully calculated to keep the elevation of the wetlands at that level. I think the best thing to do is to have when the mayor has the public hearings, is to come. We took notes from the meeting last week, and I know I've updated the mayor on Friday. Since then, on many of the comments, I've gone out and tried to research some solutions for that. Kevin helped us a lot. They've already run fire trucks. We've run fire trucks up to make sure we can time them and see how they respond. We've talked to both Northville and Waterwitch about a mutual aid agreement while the bridge is out. So those, I think, would be the best time to talk to us. We'll listen and then try to respond.
So we'll pretty much have a public meeting for each bridge yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, first, yes, the monument is absolutely wonderful. And then last night, I came home through town with the lights on the flag. Unbelievable, the vision driving along Youngsfield and looking up. So it's really beautiful. I hope someone gets a shot of that because it's just so picturesque, because you can see some of the churches in the background. It's really a beautiful vision of the town. With regard to roads, quickly, I know folks sometimes want to know when is their road on the list. And I know how we can let you folks know when there are problems. I love the system. There's a pothole, response is really good.
Right.
So that works beautifully. But we still have people who wonder, they didn't hear their road on your list, when might their road be getting attention?
So currently what's happening now is Jack and our roads committee. So right now they're going and assessing the roads, and they have what's called a PCI rate. So they kind of rate the road and where it is. So they're going to be getting their task for next year. We kind of have a sense of some of the roads now, but some of these roads deteriorate much quicker due to winter, so we kind of readjust. So the best thing would be to really check back, what would you say, Jack, February, March, when we kind of finalize exactly when these roads are going to kind of get rotated.
Yeah, normally we try to have that by, end of January, early February. We have a list. We go through we do our budgeting. We talk with the mayor on what the funding's going to be. I already have a list of roads that we're looking at for next year. In fact, I'm meeting tomorrow with my staff to go over our budgeting standards. Then I'm meeting with John Whitman on the 20th of this month to go and start our preliminary review of those. And we look at, we have different categories of what we do. We do a reclaim, we do a mill and pave, we may do an overlay, we do chip seal or a fog seal. And the roads, so each year we present to the mayor and the town council, I think we do it in the end of March, early April. We tell you what roads we're going to do and what the treatment of those roads are going to be. And that way we're able to figure out the amount of money that we need for each road. And part of it, and I was surprised to realize, I've been here now, this is my 4th summer. Time flies when you're having fun. And so I'm starting to already have to go through and say, the roads that we did my first year here, I'm having to evaluate to say, okay, do we want to put a fog seal or chip seal on them? Because what we really should be doing on our roads, on our road program, is have a 20-year cycle. You should pave it, let's say we pave it this year. In 7 years, we should do a chip seal or a fog seal. At 13 or 14 years, do the same thing. And in year 20, I won't be here, but the next person can do the paving. If I'm still here, we're in trouble.
Thank you very much.
All right, and
Jack.
still staying on some things, speaking with Bill Murphy, our building inspector, still continued strong applications. Last week, 43 applications were brought in. They did 44 inspections, and they issued 53 permits. They continued, as I said, speaking with Laura Murphy, Laura Regan, our zoning enforcement officer, still seeing, even now, strong growth.
Great.
We still need to be hesitant, obviously, now with interest rates continuing to go up. They may delay some projects just because the ROI doesn't work, but I'll be keeping the town council informed as we continue to move forward. On the Board of Education side, speaking with Sandra Sullivan, they put out a thing today where actually they're going to be doing free breakfast and lunch. They were able to get some additional funding from the Connecticut State Department of, I believe, Social Services. And if you have any questions, you can contact the Food and Nutrition Services Department at 860-354-3712. We'll also post that out on our social sites. Also, as well as the Board of Education is now beginning their search for a new permanent superintendent. Currently, Dr. Padfoot is here temporarily, and they are asking for those to fill out a survey. We will push those out. So the residents, they want to hear from as many people as they can about what they feel and what is going to be important for the superintendent. So we'll push that hyperlink out on our sites so that people can opine. Yes.
I think they also, I saw a list of Zoom meetings.
Correct.
That they want
Based
people to
on
attend.
your
Right,
parents.
right. So for example, I think town officials, it's I think 28th of
28th.
September.
Yep.
Yes.
And then regular public and,
Parents, teachers.
yeah, so contact the Board of Ed or the school
And
administration.
we'll push those links out
Yep.
too, so people can just click on to those as well. Also, real quick as well, is good weekend for the New Milford Bulls and cheer program. They did good. Their 11U team won 39-6. The 13U program come behind win 38-30. They were down at halftime 24-6, came back. The 9Us gave a good game, but
Didn't quite.
kind of like the Jets, they lost. I wish them well. Want to thank Anthony Rivera and members of Iron Law. They had their pig roast, and as we all know, those that know that nonprofit, they do wonderful things for our community. They help the cadets, help law enforcement, so thank you for them. Also want to thank Jeannie Rainberg and the Roger Sherman DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Charles Merriman Society, the CAR, which is the youth. As you can see up and down the lampposts here downtown, they again sponsored the Hometown for Heroes, which honors our veterans. I want to thank Mike Boucher, too, and the DPW team for putting them up
So
as they do the
fast,
banners.
too.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm shocked they got up
So I want to thank them. And Katie, I want to thank the United Way. You guys provided 270 families for the Back to School program, which you guys do each and every year, partnering with our social services team. So a big thank you for that. And Councilman, thank you for Irish Festival and that whole team. That was pretty awesome. Some great music and bringing a brand new event to the downtown. So outstanding. So thank you for that as well. And I think, Katie, that's, lastly, events. I was segueing into that. So, still a lot of stuff to do in New Milford, right? Still more stuff to do. On the 18th, which is a Sunday, we have the Walk a Mile, which is for social services, for hunger. So that starts at 1 p.m. I'll be down there helping direct traffic, and then I'm going to walk up there with some groceries, get some steps in, so that's good. Still, on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., we have the farmers market up on the northern part of the green. From, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. and then Sunday noon to 5 p.m. is they're still doing the open studio at Village Center of the Arts. And you can call Jason and those guys at 860-354-4318 to reserve your time for there. On September 17th, Oddfellows is having their roast beef supper, and it's a great event, all you can eat, right? And serves a great cause, and it's great supper for those. On the September 23rd, they're actually adding another Rock the Block on Bank Street.
Yep.
So that's great. The name of the thing is the Anchor Management, and they're, from what I understand, it's called Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock, right.
Okay, so
As in a boat?
I'll be
Yes.
checking that out.
Yacht Rock.
Okay,
Yes.
Yacht Rock. Okay.
Pretty funny.
On September 24th, we have the Apple Festival, second annual one, and we had a really good one last year. I'm sure we're going to have a great one then. Also, on the 24th at 9:30 on the green is the Walk to End Alzheimer's. So thank you to Ivan Schiffman and everybody that's been involved in that.
8:30 that starts.
Yep. September 27th, Marriott is In Flowers Through Space, a documentary film. On September 29th at Bank Street Theater is the Greater New Milford Film Festival, Law of the Badge. And that's Buck Oviatt, that's his film that he filmed here in New Milford. So excited to see that.
He did the music.
And RSVP at the Bank Street Theater for that film, which would be great. On September 30th at Bank Street Theater, the film festival is going to have Money Confidential, and that's also free admission, and you have to register. On October 1st and 2nd is Riverfest. On Saturday, it opens at 11 to 9:30, Sunday 11 to 6 p.m. Also, we're having the River Run on October 1st at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then from October 1st and October 2nd is the Greater New Milford Film Festival, Manhattan Shorts Film Fest 2022. We're having the Quaker tag sale on October 14th at Pettibone. And then we're going to have the Halloween on the Green on October 29th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then from 5:30 to 7:30, Trunk or Treat. There'll be a lot of kids for that. And I can't even believe we're talking about it right now, Katie, but
Don't.
November 26th,
Oh,
annual
thanks.
tree lighting.
Right.
So we're getting there.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna mention.
So Christmas,
Okay.
I'll hold on.
Just for the public, are these all on the calendar of the town
Yes.
or not? Okay, gotcha.
Yep, and we
Thank-
also post them weekly on our social sites too, so people can
Great.
see those.
All
Okay,
set?
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Item 6, I'd like to move to accept the following appointments. For the Cultural District Committee, which is a temporary committee, Denise Del Mastro, term from September 12th, 2022 through February 14th, 2023. That's 6A. And on the same, under appointments, we have for the Town Council, Paul Murphy, term replacing the vacancy left by Joe Fela. His term would be September 12th, 2022 through November 30th of 2023.
Second.
Can
Any
these be-
discussion?
Can these be separated?
I just stopped.
Oh, so
yep.
we're just doing Denise Del Mastro right now?
No, the 2A, A has the district, cultural district and the town council.
So I'd like to separate those, if possible.
It's not my decision, Mayor. You wanna make-
We usually appoint one.
No, we
one
usually do them in
person.
groups by appointments and reappointments, but if,
I
you know.
think so.
Okay, so I'll rephrase. I'd like to move that we accept the following appointments, approve the following appointments. Our Cultural District Committee, Denise Del Mastro, September 12th, 2022 to February 14th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you, Tom.
Any discussion on Denise? And for the people watching, Denise is our executive director for the New Milford Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for all your help, especially like the fireworks. And we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Only that, excuse me, there's so many more things in the fireworks that she
Exactly.
does. Just want to put that in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I know we like it, but she does
But,
a
you
lot
know.
more.
Thank you.
Okay,
Does she want to say anything?
no.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Just for the record, Kitty, you withdrew your first motion, correct?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Sorry,
You
I'm
were-
sorry. Thank you, Stephanie, for reminding.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate
Okay.
it very much.
So now, under item 6, make a motion to approve the appointment to the town council filling a vacancy left by Joseph Fela Paul Murphy, his term would be September 12th, 2022 through November 30th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
I'd like to make a comment.
Absolutely.
I think Mr. Murphy, who has done a tremendous amount for the town in so many different avenues of government and local volunteering, is going to be perfect for this position. I sat with Mr. Faley here for many years. We thanked him for his service, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for Paul to share some of his knowledge, his experience, and his compassion for our community. So I will be supporting Paul wholeheartedly.
Any other discussion? Katie?
I also support Paul joining the council. He has been an asset to the town as far as our economic driving of bringing people into town. He's had great ideas, and he's always out there doing something. I'm not quite sure how, but the road bowling, then the event on the green this past weekend, I know that our Irish games are covered. So I think you'll be a good placement here.
Chris?
I'll just add, I've known Paul personally for a number of years, and his family goes back into this town for generations, and I know he's got a love for this town, and he's got an energy level that's kind of off the chart. So when you need something done, you call Paul. So I think I'd like to welcome him to this council.
Thank you. I think it's very important to have a council member who is a veteran. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. My only concern with Mr. Murphy is I don't know you, but I do have a recollection of some volatile remarks toward council members, and it concerns me that we keep our business for the town at the council table and politics away from the council table. And that I wouldn't want politics to come to the table as a result of having Mr. Murphy join us.
Any other?
I'm only asking because I have not, this is an elected position, so this is, most of the appointments are, you can appoint them as you can this because Joe left. But I guess, what is the precedent? What has been done in the past? Has the mayor ever had any public involvement, or is it just a very quick, rapid replacement without any input for a town council or a board of ed, board of finance position? What's the sort of regular way to go?
The recommendation is the mayor's recommendation, and it's up to you as the council to decide.
Right.
You're the legislative body, so you decide.
Well, it's an elected.
I'm bringing forward a name for you.
Yeah.
And that's how it's always been done.
Well, right, but the town council, we were all elected by the public, right? So that's why we sit here.
Absolutely.
So this is an appointment, so it's slightly different. So I'm just, I likewise don't have the same information about him that you have.
This is the process that's
I
happened
understand.
every time there's a big
I
deal.
understand. So I wanted to know if there was any other little steps that any other mayors have taken or that you've taken in the past when someone's being appointed that left the position of an elected position. So the answer is
So,
no.
Randy, can you opine,
That's
please?
a great question.
Thank you.
The reason it's a good question is because precisely what Hillary said. This is an elected position that's being filled by appointment. So our charter has different provisions for this. Since it's a town council member and it's an elected position, it's a simple majority of those voting in the town council. The reason for it is because it's a legislative body. When it's an appointed position, it has to be a majority of the entire town council, whether they're in attendance or not. The reason for that is because an appointed commission does not have the same level as a legislative body. So that's the rationale. Whether it makes sense is not my job, but that's the difference. It's an elected position that's filled by appointment by other elected officials. So accordingly, our charter has it differentiates it in how that's handled.
So but the appointment is from the mayor. We're just.
No, the appointment's from the town council.
But we didn't.
The mayor
So we're
recommends-
appointing him right
That's
now.
Correct.
If it's your body, don't forget, you're the legislative body.
You're approving the appointment, just as we
In
did
the other
other ones.
aspect, in an appointment, it's a mayor's appointment, subject to the approval of the town council.
Okay.
It's words and it's semantics, but there's
I gotcha.
a technical difference.
just have one comment in regards to
Sal?
the language that's supposed to Mr. Murphy was using. So Mr. Murphy and the veterans in this town, ever since the New Milford DNC called Republicans Nazis.
I don't know what you're referring to.
No, that's the perfect example. Next time you have to read a little more. Anyway, so they were coming here.
Actually, time out.
No. I'm speaking right now. It's my
speaking.
time.
Excuse me.
It's my time.
He's
My
got the
time.
floor.
My time.
Hillary, please allow, as the parliament,
What is
as
the
the,
name? Who's the who's the
we
one
have
who
no
keeps the
parliament.
It's
order
my
right
time
now?
right now.
But as a sergeant at arms,
So
he's
I would like
speaking.
to know. I
It's my
understand-
time.
Well,
It's
my
his
time.
he's insulting half of
He's not
this
insulting.
I'm not
body.
insulting anything.
He's
I
not
was
insulting
insulting.
anybody. He's
Okay,
bringing up some
can I
facts. So please
finish?
let
Those are not
Councilman
facts.
Brankovic
Can I
speak.
finish? Can I
Please let him
finish? Can I
please.
finish?
I've
Okay.
had it. I've
Next
had
time. Next time. I was born in Poland. If you can hear my accent, my relatives died in Auschwitz and Buchenwald and some other things. And the DNC until today, New Milford DNC, didn't have a guts.
TC.
DNC, you guys, the Democrats in this town, have not apologized. So let me finish, and then you have a time to speak. We have the flyers and everything. The veterans were coming here day after day, earlier this year, trying to find out why haven't you apologized, and you haven't apologized. Now, I don't care, to be honest with you, if you don't read the history, who's the Nazi, who's not a Nazi, what the Nazi salute looks like.
you bring a postcard?
But
Did you
I'm
bring a
just,
postcard?
let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
I don't want to.
But you haven't apologized to those people, never ever. And they saved, they served this country, and they're great patriots. And you haven't done this to Delhi, and you're complaining about the language. Is that a joke or is it a joke? You don't understand, right? Do you?
I understand what.
No, you don't.
Listen, this is not the place to have this out right here. Okay,
No, I'm
because
saying I'm not going to be.
You cannot-
I'm not allowed to be. I'm not going to be called a because I'm a Republican. I'm a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm a Republican. So
I'd like to call the question.
thank you.
So we have a question, we have a call to question. Okay, so we have Mr. Murphy up for town council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Thank you. Randy, can you swear in
Welcome, Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Murphy?
Swear affirm to give and be that the evidence you'll give, that you'll faithfully and fairly serve the position to which you've been appointed, so help you God. He's in.
Thank you.
Can I take a seat? Okay, Kate?
Moving on. In the loss of Mr. Fela, we have.
What? Paul, did you want to say something?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor Bass, Town Council members, since retiring 6 years ago from 51 years of working in several different occupations, military, during Vietnam and the Cold Wars, I got out in 1975. I worked in a 300-man sheriff's department. I've done corporate security, automotive management, and elevator construction that I retired from. I decided to start working to better the town of New Milford, where my ancestors settled 9 generations ago in 1742 with the family Northrop. They owned over 250 acres of land on East Park Lane all the way down to Candlewood Valley Nursing Home. I have grandchildren and grandnieces that reside here. They are now the 11th generation of people here in New Milford. The family tree has limbs and branches that consist of many family names, such as Camps, Donnellys, Morrises, Boswicks, etc. In 2019, I was asked to run for the office on Planning Commission, and I was elected to that seat while lying in the Danbury Hospital with my heart hardwired to machinery. I had heart failure 7 times 2 days prior to the election. With the mayor in the hospital room, as code blue teams kept bringing me back, and finally came over to my bedside and said, "You're not going anywhere. They're going to put a pacemaker in you." I think somewhere in the fog, I think I remember him saying, "Where'd you put all my signs?" But anyway, Going on the Planning Commission, the commission itself named me chairman. I also work with the Economic Development Corporation. I sit on that corporation as a non-voting person because of being the chairman of the Planning Commission. I worked on a 19-member COVID long-term recovery plan for the town that got shipped to the state of Connecticut. I was on the Alarm Appeals Board, the Long Mountain Scenic Road, and Mud Pond Bridge committees, and oversaw the drafting and final publication of the POCD. For those that don't know what that is, it's a 2020 to 2030 program of conservation and development. I've been involved with veterans events and support the Legion and the VFW. 2 years ago, I spearheaded and put together a team of volunteers to restore the town tank to what it looked like in 1949 when it was put on the green. I became chairperson of the Republican Town Committee in 2021, and I held it throughout the election, stepping down this January. In that year, I stood before the council supporting a member I put on the ballot, Sal. When I was approached by many of the townspeople to seek election to the town council previously, I didn't seek that nomination. Now I am prepared to serve the people in the town I love that I call home. While I will work to help all the citizens, I especially want to ensure that town's growth prospers while still retaining its small New England charm, its open spaces, its farmlands, wetlands, and historic village center, while continuing to attract economic development for jobs and grand list tax growth. As a town is much like a military regiment, men die, people in towns die. But the regiment lives on and the town lives on. It's the responsibility of town council members, whether it's past, present, or future, to make sure that the town of New Milford goes into the future sound and secure. I want to thank the council members that cast their votes here this evening for me, and that those that didn't, I can relate. As in the local election, I, along with 73% of the people that voted, didn't vote for you either. So let's call it even. Let's get off to a clean start. The town and its citizens is most important to all of us here. It's the best town in the USA, and it's New Milford strong. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Katie?
Paul, thank you for letting those people at home or watching know more about you. And now we're going to move to item 6B. Let me put on my glasses.
Okay.
This is reappointment to Inland Wetlands Commission, which is also the New Milford Aquifer Protection. It's the appointment for Irene Scribello. Her term would be September 12th, 2022 through January 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah,
Bruce?
I didn't support her appointment to begin with, and I still would not support her reappointment either.
Any other?
I'll just say that she has served as an alternate in good standing and has attended all the meetings, so I think she's been doing her job so far.
Okay. Any other discussion? Tom?
Yeah, I won't be supporting her tonight. I mean, I feel this is a regulatory body, not a preclusive body, and I've just found in reading some of the minutes and comments from there that it is more, for her, it's more preclusive and not to the letter of the regulations. So I will not be supporting her tonight. I did not support her before. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing as there are none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Wow.
Abstain?
And one abstention. Okay. Okay. Katie, next.
Item number 7, I'd like to move a road closure for Bank Street Investments, closing Bank Street on September 23rd from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a Rock the Block, another concert, and this is pending traffic authority approval.
This is the Yacht Rock.
Second.
right? We got a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item 7.
Abstain.
Oh, sorry, Hillary. I thought your hand was up. Item 7A, like to approve that we have a road closure for Run Santa Run on November 26, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Youngsfield Road from the tennis courts to Med in Still. And I'm assuming this also needs traffic authority approval
Yes.
pending. Okay.
Second.
We have a second?
Has an application been
And, yep,
sent?
application's been sent.
Right here.
Okay.
Billy, would you like to talk a little bit about Run Santa Run?
Good evening, everyone. Well, this is going to be year 12 of Run Santa Run, which is amazing to me. I can't believe it's been 12 years. We started at the park, moved it down, and by the way, I apologize. This came from a haunted trail meeting. I'm not addressed appropriately for town council. I apologize for that. We moved it downtown, had it there for a few years. It worked really well. By request, we moved it elsewhere for a little bit, came back, went to Harrybrook again. But the concept of Run Santa Run is manyfold. So we try to, we do a kids fun run where we raise dollars and toys for Tots. In fact, you mentioned Warren Hengel, who's always on hand for us, our local Marine, collects toys on behalf of the Marines for the kids to run. We do the 5K for multiple charities every year. And we do it on Small Business Saturday. And having it at Harrybrook is lovely and wonderful. You know how much I love the park. But bringing it downtown allows more people to be downtown. In the past, we get anywhere from 300 to 500 runners that come and participate in this event. And what we want to do is try to drive more people to downtown, especially on Small Business Saturday. As you mentioned earlier, Mr. Mayor, there's another wonderful event right after that with the tree lighting, and rumor has it Santa's going to be there too. So
I heard that.
it's a wonderful day for everybody. We want to bring it back and be a bigger part of downtown and be a bigger part of everything downtown and celebrate New Milford more with Run Santa Run 12. I can't believe it's 12. So I appreciate your consideration. I appreciate all the help you've been in the past. I'd love to take any questions about it. In fact, rumor has it Santa's going to participate this year in the 5K.
Whoa.
So, and he did pass along to me an offer if anyone from town council would like to join in that 5K, please would be welcome to join, as well as the town attorney would be lovely to see joining us.
I think we'll applaud you.
Is he actually running or flying in a sleigh?
The sleigh will arrive and Santa will run. Hence, Run Santa Run, which he hasn't done in the race since the first one.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
It's looking good.
looking good for him so far. A little bit to climb yet. But any questions I could answer for you about the event? I've been thrilled with the results over the years, and I'm happy that it can bring back some of the help for Harrybrook as well.
So I have a question.
that?
So since the Santa kit came from Finland originally, so it goes from over there.
Yeah.
They have a lesser inflation than we do. Is that accounted for the presents?
You know, I'm not sure what the exchange rate is at this point, too.
Oh,
But I
That's
promise
a
you,
fair answer.
since you mentioned Finland, I can promise you Santa will finish.
There you
Sorry, I had to.
Oh, boy. Tongue in cheek there.
Okay.
All right.
So on that note,
Yep.
we have a motion and we have a second and we had discussion. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you,
Thank
Santa.
you. Thank you.
all very much.
Thank
Okay.
you, Bill.
Wonderful night. Cheers.
Moving to item 8, I'd like to move to approve the creation of a hot work permit ordinance. This is just the creation.
Yep. And we have a second. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've asked, and Jack is here tonight, and also Kevin Reynolds, our fire marshal, to talk about the hot work program. Other towns and cities do have this. It protects the town when people are doing work with open flame. If it's okay, Jack, I'd like to read your email that I asked you concerning it. And Jack said, public safety is an important part of the local government's responsibility. Fire protection provided by municipalities' fire professionals, including the fire marshal and fire departments, protects homes, businesses, and public buildings. Fire safety has many components, including an effective hot work program. Hot work is defined as work involving burning, welding, or a similar operation that is capable of initiating fires or explosions. It includes activities involving flame, spark production, or heat such as welding, arc welding, oxy-fuel gas welding, open flame soldering, brazing, thermal spraying, oxygen cutting, and arc cutting. Hot work fires result in avoidable death, injury, and hundreds of millions of dollars in property loss each year. When everyone follows safe hot work practices, these fires are preventable. The risk with hot work is high because it introduces a hazard, an ignition source. That's why the number one safety recommendation is to determine whether there is an alternative to hot work, and by avoiding hot work, you minimize the risk. Because of the inherent risk associated with hot work, many municipalities are considering instituting a mandatory hot work requirement. After a 2014 fire resulting in the death of 2 firefighters in Boston, they passed an ordinance establishing hot work training and certification requirements, and the state of Massachusetts followed by passing a similar regulation. In the 2021 NFPA's research data indicates there were 4,580 fires associated with hot work projects, resulting in 22 deaths, 171 injuries, and $484 million in property damage. The town of New Milford has experienced 2 fires during the high school roof project caused by hot work. Fortunately, no one has been severely injured, but these have caused significant project delays, relocation of students, curriculum interruption, and property damage. With this in mind, and with my 40 years of safety program experience, I recommend to the town council to pass a town ordinance requiring a hot work program. I will provide any support that I can towards the implementation of an effective hot work program. And we also have here our Fire Marshal, Kevin Reynolds. Kevin, could you opine to the town council as our Fire Marshal what your recommendation would be to create a hot work ordinance?
I'm a strong supporter of it. It's going to give our office the opportunity to go out, do the inspection on site, educate the individuals that are doing the work, and it's going to allow us to see through the project to make sure that it's being done safely. Obviously, businesses in town, the schools, the town buildings, safety is the number one goal. So I'm just asking the support of you guys to implement this and keep the town safe.
Thank you.
So Kevin, if this is implemented, do you have an idea of what sort of additional workload this is going to put on your team, and are you staffed for this?
Right now, we're staffed for it. It's going to be, the way I'm looking at this, it's like anything else. The people that are going to apply for the permit, those are the ones we're going to know about unless we happen to see them in the act of doing it. Then we can stop and talk to them, especially with this ordinance in place, because we can enforce it then. So right now, I mean, I don't know exactly how much hot work goes on in town. Right now, we can handle what comes our way. And I know like Kimberly-Clark, they have their own process. We don't get involved over there. They do hot work stuff daily. Yeah. So we stop in and chat with them and see what's going on, but we do not go over there for every time they do hot work.
So there's some situations where people won't have to go through the fire department for the hot work?
Well, like Kimberly-Clark, if they have their own program, it's overseen by Factory Mutual. It is a very strict program that they go through. So their insurance company basically oversees their process there.
Kevin, is this going to also be applied to like residential work? You get like HVAC guys going in and brazing refrigerant lines. How are you going to deal with that?
That's going to be, I got to do a little more research on that, because residential, I mean, help me, an ordinance.
If plumbers, HVAC guys, the whole thing.
Nationally, and under OSHA, Connecticut and federal, there's hot work regulations. It depends on how broad you want this to be. A plumber sweating some pipes in a residential house should not need a hot work permit.
Right. I agree with that.
I think that's the question. So the way the ordinance is going to be crafted, and Fire Marshal Reynolds gave me a sample of one, the way the ordinance is going to be crafted is going to depend upon how broad you want it to be. If you're welding inside of a school building, you know, that's not intended, but like that, you're gonna need a hot work permit.
Right.
If you're sweating some pipes to put it in a water heater, you're not gonna need a hot work permit. So it's gonna depend upon the definition in the ordinance. And Kevin and I will have to talk about that. I've got a compendium of some ordinances that are absolutely broad, such that you have to do testing prior to doing hot work in certain enclosed spaces. That's how broad this can be, and that's an OSHA standard, by the way. We don't need to be that broad unless its circumstances dictate. So it's going to have to be drafted rather deftly, and I think that Kevin and I are going to have to meet and review a number of sample ordinances before we get the sweet spot.
Absolutely.
Alex and Katie?
Yeah. Was this in the works or something that you folks were considering before the high school fires?
After the first fire, we were...
After the first fire?
After the first fire,
Not
yes.
before the first
Not-
fire?
Not
No.
before, right.
Okay. I'm concerned that this is a knee-jerk reaction. Here come more rules, here come more laws, and there are lots of things in place that can keep people safe without adding another ordinance. So I'd like to know more. I'm not ready to vote for it.
Okay.
Katie?
Yeah, Randy, I guess, and Kevin both, this is a question for you. As to the idea of sweating pipes in a residence, okay? So what are insurance companies' criteria? Because it's all well and good to say that your knowledgeable plumber or HVAC guy can do a good job of that and not burn your house down. But, you know, you don't know. You hire somebody. So how do insurance companies look at this? Are there policies that say no without some permit or something? I don't know.
There are policies that have exceptions, exclusions. As a matter of fact, there's homeowners policies that have exclusions for dog bites that people don't even know about. So there are exclusions in homeowners policies. Insurance companies are not necessarily our friends. But in a situation like this, when you have a plumber come into a house, that person cannot do that work without a license. So there's another
Right.
authority they have to
Okay,
answer
that's
to
good.
as well.
That's good.
But the other thing is that before, as Alex said, before we go imposing another set of regulations all over the place, we need to know what we're doing. We need to know the ramifications of it.
Right.
And I can't tell you the enforcement mechanism. I can't tell you how we're going to enforce it. I can't tell you whether or not the prosecutor will enforce it if it's a criminal prosecution. And I'm sad to say, prosecutors do not want to deal with local ordinances. They just don't.
Right.
They got enough to worry about.
Well,
So, in any
having
event,
enforcement is
it's-
important.
you
Why
know-
do it if you can't enforce it?
it's
Listen,
gonna
the
depend on
typical,
scope.
the typical mechanical contractor or plumber has usually a fire watch person. It's a helper with a fire extinguisher and a welding blanket. If it's near wood, they put a welding blanket behind it, then they do their brazing or they do their soldering work, especially if it's in a wood structure. But there's always supposed to be a fire watch. So I understand we don't want to overburden, a lot of contractors. But obviously, we just had a substantial fire that happened 2 times after they were told not to at the school. Most contractors pay attention to fire watches. They're supposed to have at least 1 or 2 people there with a fire extinguisher. It's not a very onerous regulation from where I stand. My guys do this every
I just was
day.
curious if we would be doing something that it could be part of a homeowner's insurance policy, and, we don't all read all the 55 pages. If having this ordinance would somehow go put something, enact something in my homeowner's policy, should there be a fire, the insurance coming back and say, well, it says right here in Article 420 that you should have checked for that or something. So
Sure,
your
there's
point
always a
about the-
potential policy defense, yeah.
Yeah, so your point is right, that they'd be licensed and therefore cognizant of the things they should be doing. That's just a question. We're just talking about creating the ordinance. We haven't even started that yet, so.
Correct. And to the fire marshal, how many years' experience do you have with fire suppression, being a fireman?
32 years.
Jack, I know you'd put it in your email, but for the council's edification, your years of experience working with risk avoidance, with working both in the public and private sector when it comes to hot work material, how many years?
Since 1981.
And Jack, again, for those that are watching and for our council, your recommendation is to explore and look at putting in a hot work ordinance.
Absolutely. I mean, my background is industrial and you know, for international and national firms, it's something we've been doing for 20, 30 years. It's just standard operating procedure.
That's right.
I gave Kevin, you know, you may have seen me come up, I've got a couple examples of power programs, permits that you can do. Some of it's just guidance. It just says somebody, to what Tom said, you're going to do a soldering pipe. I live in a barn. I'll tell you, anytime somebody comes into, this was built in 1890 something, that sucker would go up really fast. I have, whenever we do any work, in fact, I don't allow hot work really anymore. I go to mechanical means, but I always have buckets of water and things right there. It follows that process. I think it's an advisable thing. I would think it would support insurance claim. You know,
Me too.
and that you've done this process.
Right.
And Kevin, again, for the edification of our town council and those watching, your recommendation as the fire marshal of the town of New Milford is to create a hot work ordinance.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great.
Randy, as far as legal, the fact that we would create, if the town council approves, a hot work ordinance, that would put us in a more stronger position if we had someone that would effectively do something similar that happened at our high school roof.
Well, I'm going to just tell you what happened. Obviously, I've been working very, very closely with Kerma and the bonding company. Kerma would love to have a hot work ordinance because that gives them a right to go after, in subrogation, the entity that caused the loss, and it would be called at that point negligence per se, because it would be violation of an ordinance. They wouldn't have to prove any other negligence. So obviously Kerma, who would love to review our contracts, whatever contract we do, would be in favor of this. And don't forget, just in full disclosure, I defend other towns for Kerma. So I'm not being a cheerleader for Kerma, because I'm not. But I'm just telling you that that's the attitude of insurers. They want something to be able to hang their hat on, to go after who they believe to be a responsible party, and that would help them in that regard.
Yeah.
Should something occur, and you know this has been a nightmare. So
Absolutely.
So
And
yes.
for those watching, Kerma is our town. It's all 169 municipalities insure. So, and they're helping us, as you said, with the high school.
A lot,
Yeah,
as you know.
Chris, did you have a
And
question?
to be clear, all we're doing tonight is approving them.
Correct.
Let's benchmark what the best ones are, let's come up with one, and then we're gonna have to approve
Absolutely.
whatever the final product is. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But it's,
Are there any currently in Connecticut?
Oh,
yes,
yes.
yeah.
Has one. Bloomfield has one. The bees have them, I know that.
I would imagine all
There's a few of
major
them.
cities do.
Not to mention OSHA.
The cities, yes.
That's what I mean,
It's
OSHA
common.
40.
All the cities.
OSHA
It's a
30 and
common
OSHA 40
practice
really
for
covers a lot of this. To
industry.
be on any
Right.
sort of major construction project, you need to either have an OSHA 30 or an OSHA 40 now.
Yeah, Hillary, there's a lot of guidance.
Yeah.
Great.
Do we know how many businesses would be impacted by this?
It would be dependent on how tight you'd want this ordinance to be or how flexible. So that would be something I think we would uncover as we, with your guys' permission, to continue to explore the opportunity to do an ordinance.
Yep, makes sense.
Good with that.
Any other questions for the fire marshal or for our DPW director?
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion that we explore.
I already have a
We have it,
motion.
right?
So
And we have a
motion and a second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Jack. Item number 9, we have an update from our IT director, David Watson.
Thank you, Council. So Mayor asked me to come and update you all on our progress in the IT department over, I don't know how long it's been since I've spoken to you all, probably about a year at this point. So first off, hopefully while you were enjoying the festival, you also enjoyed the free Wi-Fi in the green. And if you haven't yet, you should. So as you are all aware, as you approved the funding, we leveraged some of our Arpa funding to upgrade the firewalls in the municipality, specifically for the interconnections at the police department and at 47 Bridge Street, which is our primary, the rest of the municipality, excluding the Board of Education connection. What we have right now is a singular firewall at both of those places. What we're replacing it with is not just newer generation firewalls that are advanced in their way that they can help mitigate attacks, but we're also putting in what's called a high availability situation. So essentially, as opposed to having one firewall, there's two. If one of them breaks, the other one jumps in, and the individuals working in the building have no semblance of any of something going down. It also helps during maintenance cycles and otherwise, but it helps us to maintain the stability of our environment, not just the security. We also went through and replaced every single switch. They were quite dated. A lot of them were even end of life. That just means the manufacturer will find that there's issues with them, but they won't fix those issues. So just as much as your house, if you notice there's a window that's unlocked or someone could break in, you go and you lock that window. In this case, the manufacturers at some point say, listen, you've got to replace the hardware. We're not going to maintain it anymore. We were at that point, and those have all been replaced. On top of that, they are also of the same manufacturer, which means we can manage them from a single pane of glass. As you're all aware, we are a department of 2 individuals. So to have a system that we are able to log into to manage our entire switching infrastructure, which for a layman is essentially all the roads that interconnect our network, to be able to go to one place to manage those and also get proactive notifications if there's an issue, it is extremely helpful. Building into that, we are also with Arpa funding replacing the wireless in all of the town buildings, save JPCC, which was addressed early on during COVID. Due to the fact that we had a youth program there, we were expecting a lot of students. Our municipal Wi-Fi desperately needs to be upgraded. Most of our staff will tell me that. And this will help not just for the municipal connectivity as far as our office space, but there is also public Wi-Fi there as well. Within that same pane of glass, we're also going to be doing our mobile device management, which includes the 150 plus cell phones, iPads that are used by our municipal staff. The MDM allows us to manage how that device is used, make sure it is maintained secured, recover the device if it's lost, or wipe the device should it be lost and non-recoverable. We've also worked to mitigate a lot of older devices when it comes to our network storage. We had come from a place where we had 8 network attached storage devices. All the files that the organization saves on a day-to-day basis were on 8 different devices, 4 for the PD, 4 for the town. Those have been brought down to a cluster of 2 devices with proper offsite backups implemented as well. Our server environment was also getting very close to, if not already in a number of places, end of life. We migrated from 29 servers being on 13 physical devices, each of those physical devices being a single point of failure. If the server went down, there was nothing else in the environment to run that job. So be it the device that managed the printing for the organization, our Active Directory environment, which makes it so you can log into your computer. If those physical devices went down, that services was no longer offered. We've replaced those 13 physical servers with a dual host environment, so 2 servers that are now able to maintain our 30 virtual servers. And if one of those goes down or needs maintenance, the other one can completely take its place. All of this to not just have the value of the security, but also, again, the stability for the organization. We recently had another risk assessment done. Just to give you a reminder, the first risk assessment we did it on the town and the PD side individually. We had 6 critical findings for the PD, 19 high findings for the PD, 10 medium findings for the PD, and 2 low. On the town side, we had an additional 6 critical findings, 18 high, 13 medium, and 4 low. Total of 78 findings on that first risk assessment we did. The last one we did, we had 1 high and 3 medium. All but one of them were mitigated within 24 hours, and the final one was pending a vendor participating, and that one has also since been mitigated.
And Dave, kind of,
sure.
As an example.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
When I first became mayor, and then you became the IT director.
Sure.
One of the things that we observed was previously our servers were stored at Pettibone under a sprinkler.
Yes, sir.
So if the sprinkler was let go, there goes our whole network.
Not to mention that's also where our offsite backups were, even though they were inside the network, as I'm sure Sal is aware. An offsite backup is not just meant to be in a different building in your same network, but outside of the network as well. If the network is impacted here, it's impacted at all of our buildings, including the location where that was stored. So what that saved us from was fires. What that would not have saved us from would be something like a cybersecurity attack, which is why we now have them off-site, in the cloud, in indelible storage, which means that it would take a considerable effort from myself, knowing all the accesses, having all the permissions, to get a hold of that vendor and actually ask for them to delete it. So I don't wish to toy with fate here, but far better than we were sitting before.
So kudos to you and Ken. Obviously, with the new assessment, you can see the risk is minimal, way down. Another thing, if you could talk to the council members as well, as we've really had a focus on training here on the town side, especially when it comes to fishing. If you could talk about how we've implemented our training that really has helped with that, and kind of the metrics that we've used to show the success of that.
Absolutely. So over the last just about 3 years now, we've been leveraging the KnowBe4 platform that allows us to do simulated phishing emails to everyone who has a Town of New Milford email address as an employee. And those individuals receive an email within a 2-week cycle, and they are actually made by actual phishing emails being intercepted. They use those to reproduce a test, and those are sent, again, on a recurring cycle to our staff. When they get the email, if they click on the email, they get a notification saying, hey, this was a simulated attack, and training is then in turn assigned to the individual. And we found the first training, I think I had our first department head within 3 minutes. We are now well below the average for organizations of our size, as well as our maturity in the platform. Meaning we've been using the platform, we've been training, and even then we're below that threshold. On top of that, the IT department has also taken on the IT-centric training, and it covers 7 different knowledge areas, including passwords and authentication, cybersecurity, the human firewall, things of that nature. And at the beginning of the fiscal year, we have assigned an assessment to the staff with 21 questions, 3 per knowledge area. If they get all 3 of them correct, they show us that they know that knowledge area, and they do not need to do the associated training. If they do, the associated training is assigned to that staff, and it helps to reinforce the knowledge areas where they showed a lack of knowledge.
Any questions for Dave?
When do you sleep?
Well, now that my daughter is older, a bit better now. But yeah, no.
Do you have to go out on, let's say, the police department, fire department, anything going down, a system going down?
Actually, that was another thing I had here. So we currently support the police department solely as far as after-hour support. And more often than not, at this point, we're getting phone calls for password resets. We are available to them 24/7. Early on in my tenure, it got to the point where my wife couldn't stand the sound of my cell phone ringing, especially in the middle of the night. So it was quite frequent. Now we're at the point, I was actually going to touch upon that. The first year we were here, our average downtime was 13.5 hours. We had multiple multi-day outages, especially with our old phone system. Now our average downtime is to 45 minutes, and honestly that was across 6 outages. One of them I think was a 2-hour outage that was an intermittent outage, and it wasn't affecting all of our staff. Our most recent outage was a whole minute. It was an ISP. The state of Connecticut was making some changes. They realized they made a mistake, and before most of our staff even knew we were down, we were back up and running.
Sal, did you have a question?
Well, I like everything you said. If I ever have my cybersecurity company, which I don't yet, I'll hire you, Mr. Mayor, for whatever I'll bid him, basically. So, couple things. The MDM stuff is very important. So I'm super glad to hear that, because that you can control the phones. Phones, if you think that it's not hackable, it's hackable. The patches are going on and off all the time. The high availability stuff, the firewall is super important. What that does basically for those of you who are not into technologies is basically if you have one firewall, if that goes, everything goes. So you have the second firewall listens to the first one when it goes down and takes over right away. It takes about 15 milliseconds for one to take over the other one. So basically, you won't even see the difference between the two failures, or one failure and then one take over. So this is all good stuff. You mentioned phishing. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Social engineering.
It's all part of that. So we don't do any in-person social engineering. There has been some interest in that in the past. Not going to elaborate just because I'd like to surprise the staff with those types of things.
Yeah, those
But
things you don't
that
publicize,
is
yeah.
something we've considered. We are also a department of two, so we do very strategically identify what we're going to be tackling
Yeah.
when. The nature of the buildings, if this was a corporate environment, one of the biggest concerns would be, someone using their badge and the person behind them following behind them. A lot of times there will be a fire drill and, oh, I forgot my badge upstairs. Do you mind letting me in? That's great. This is a public building. Literally anyone can walk through these doors. So that's one of those concerns we don't necessarily have. A big concern we do have is something along the lines of, a good Samaritan kind of incident where I found this thumb drive and I really want to get it back to its rightful owner. So I'm going to plug it into my computer and see if I can find something on here that tells me that thumb drive has malicious files on it, has a virus on it, intentionally or not. When they plugged that in, they mitigated the network, not just that computer, but the entire organization.
It's just a backdoor, basically. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it can be intentional. Someone could walk through the hallway and choose to throw something on the ground, or it could just be a member of our public accidentally dropping something and they didn't have as safe of a security environment at home.
And it's only two of you?
There are two of us.
It's amazing.
Great job. So David, it has been a while since you've been here, but I look at that as a really good sign.
Thank you.
Considering the disaster that you walked into when you came in here, so you've done a great job. I don't hear as much about ransomware as I used to. Is that still a big issue out there? Are we protected?
I think it
against
is.
that?
There's new strategies that they're taking, especially again with corporate infrastructure. Whereas what they'll do is they'll steal your databases, and as opposed to holding you for ransom, they hold your customers for ransom. So in this instance, obviously that would be our townspeople, very much wanting to keep them safe. The data was one of their primary ones. They would take all of your data, in your workstations as well, encrypt them and lock them all down, and say, listen, pay up or we're not going to give you back your stuff. So the primary perspective on that was to keep your backup safe, keep them off site, and then worst case scenario, you can restore from backups, you lose a couple of hours, days, what have you, but then you're sitting okay. Really, the situation is just so ever changing. It's very hard to stay at front of every one of their different attack vectors. So the best thing that we can do is facilitate our staff to understand what an attack is going to look like, especially with those phishing emails. There's also now phishing where phone calls will be coming through. There's been a number of times actually where I've alerted the mayor that we had our finance department had received emails from individuals posing actually most recently as our fire marshal saying, hey, I need a payroll action form completed. And it's actually a malicious attempt to steal the gentleman's paycheck. And our staff is catching that. And they're seeing it, and the more you see these things, the more they stand out like a sore thumb. Even those that are more highly targeted, name-dropping individuals in the organization, pretending to be high-up individuals that you may not want to question if an interesting request comes your way. So we're really focusing on trying to get our staff as adept and aware as possible because they are, frankly, our best defense.
And then just one last thing, and I know with two of you, you've got a lot on your plate. Do you do any training with the senior center staff where they could maybe train some of our senior citizens on computer safety?
I believe
cyber
Jasmine
security?
actually has some programs, but I'd be more than happy to have some conversations with her.
Volunteers
Great.
that
But yeah, I do
Great.
believe
Okay.
they have a computer lab up there that we support, and
Yeah, I know
from
they
time
have
to
one, yeah.
time, yeah, I
Okay.
do believe that they bring people into not just that, but also simple things like how to use your cell phone. Because we're in a society now where individuals with low tech or no tech are at a disadvantage. So I think they're trying to mitigate that as much as possible.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? Katie?
I just want to say, Dave, you two do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And, Rick, I think what you started with the testing, doing the phishing tests, et cetera, was great, and I'm glad to hear you're continuing it because it never hurts to do it because of the new things. We do that in a United Way because you'd be shocked. Hi, Dave, it's Katie. Do me a favor. Can you click here and get me order something or whatever? And, you'd be surprised that people they're so used to seeing it that they do it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you both do, and I know it's a lot for two people, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, Ken has been with us for about 6 months after I started.
Sorry, not Rick. Sorry.
And time has certainly flown, but
Yeah.
I think we've been given great tools, both financially. Our staff has been very accepting of the training we're trying to give them. When we first came in, there was a lot of pretty significant changes in how they worked, and we continue to do so. I mean, our staff is now logging in with two-factor authentication, especially, you know, when they're remote, but when they're logging into the workstations, they're still having to prove who they are, but they understand the risk, they understand the importance to protecting the community and our local government, and they're doing their part too.
I know, Dave, just for the council and those watching, one of the things that our goal was, especially when we were in the height of COVID, was to make sure that our business still ran. And how could we leverage our technology so we never closed?
Yep.
And we were able to do that. Unlike some other municipalities, we were always open.
Yep.
You know, whether it was be through a remote type of experience or person to person. So.
We've actually had a number of individuals up to department heads who are caused to work remotely, and they came back to me and said, listen, it was great, it was easy, and I had a number of conversations with individuals, and they didn't even know I was outside of the office. If you ring someone's desk phone, it can ring to their cell phone, it can ring to their laptop. They're able to access everything they need to if they're inside of the organization, if they're remote. We've gotten a large swath of our staff who have cause to work remotely. Obviously, individuals who, you know, maintain our roads and our parks don't necessarily have the capacity to work remote, but those who are in an office position, a large swath of them are at a position now where if, you know, a weather incident or if we had an incident in one of our municipal buildings where it wasn't able to be worked within, they're able to do their job no matter the situation.
Any other questions for Dave?
Great job.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you for the update.
Item number 10, discussion and an update, Mayor, from you about our nip bottle funds and for capital items?
Sure. I wanted to just update the council. The state legislature put a 5-cent deposit on nip bottles, and for those who don't know, those are little bottles that you get at the package store. And with that, some of those funds now are going to be going to the towns. New Milford received their first one, I believe it was about $14,000. So I've asked the recycling committee and they've had their first meeting, to come back and give us their thoughts on what capital items that we could use for recycling and how that would be better used for the residents for New Milford. And once they're completed with that, I'll bring their findings back to the town council, and then we can move forward from there.
Great.
Hillary?
Oh, could you talk about the purpose of the bill?
So the purpose of the bill was
And the funding, the
lots,
purpose for the town.
lots and
to get
lots
the
of,
funding.
yeah, the reason for the bill was lots and lots of garbage on the sides of the roads. So the thought was if you take a 5-cent tax, people would be more likely to turn them in. Or if they threw them away, there's some money set aside that we could use towards how could we efficiently get those things off of our roadways.
Towards
or
cleanup.
Off of the thing.
Right.
Cleanup
Thank you.
and how you could go ahead and do that. Correct.
Great.
So cover things like brooms and
Cleaning
other
them up.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but the nip bottle money, people don't return the nip bottles. That's an added expense, but they're not returnable.
They're not now. I mean, for
They're-
a refund. like
For
you can.
refund, they're not a refund
No.
like the nickel items.
Correct.
So that's why all those businesses selling those nip bottles in New Milford is how that $14,000 was
Correct.
generated from those purchases.
And they get
And
those-
it's
they get-
supposed to go toward addressing litter and trash, right?
Litter, trash, and how you get rid of that bottle, so to speak. The ones that are along the sides of the roads, the
Right.
ones that are in our streams.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere,
They're
exactly.
everywhere.
And the amount of money
Right.
that was provided to our town as opposed to every other town or whatever is based upon
How many nip bottles get sold.
population and how
How
many
many were
nips are
sold, yeah,
sold
Right.
in our, right.
Is that-
So
is-
this was
that for a
this was
year?
like one,
The
no, it wasn't.
I
It was
believe
like
that,
a
I believe
quarter.
that is for
You get 2 payments.
yeah, I believe it's for 6 months.
Yep. So,
My God.
Most of those are found on my road.
There's a lot.
yeah.
So I just
5
wanted
cents
to
a
update
piece.
the council, once I get back the recommendations, obviously, from the recycling committee too, we'll bring that forward to the council. Paul?
The last time we had a trash bash day was probably 2 years ago. I picked up 568 nip bottles on Aspetuck Road between the railroad tracks and Now, I guess yardage area was 560 of them. So it was bad. I mean, all the way up. And you can probably pick other intersections in the town.
I was up in,
So the
I was
5
up,
cents is on the return,
And the return.
just like a regular soda bottle. Is that what they're saying?
No, they're
no,
doing it
it's
on
It's
the
5
sale.
cents on the
No,
sale.
it's
Good,
on the
because I was
sale.
going to say, the return is ridiculous.
You're not gonna get
because
the return.
There
Sale.
isn't somebody who's drinking it that's
No.
going to want the 5 cents as opposed to having evidence in their car
They're
or
just
something
using
that
that.
they're drinking it.
They're just, they're using the nickel as the.
Good,
I
good.
wish they didn't
Touch
sell
point.
them.
It was a
Right.
big environmental
Yeah, I know.
push.
Yeah.
The legislator, the Connecticut, they said, how can we get how can we get this waste out of our water bodies? How can we, so let's give towns money to clean this stuff up.
Yep,
By putting the 5 cents on the price of the unit.
correct.
right.
And then the
And it has
You
to
see
be
them floating down the
distributors,
river, unfortunately.
the liquor
They-
distributors
In the
then
ocean.
take their sales,
Right.
They ought
right,
to
for
make
each
the
town,
money.
and then that's where they divvy out
They
the
divvy
money.
it up.
Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
item number 11, 11A, I'd like to make a motion for setting a town meeting regarding the distribution of Arpa funds, $90,000 for Butterbrook roof. A suggested date would be September 26th of 2022.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? This was approved at I believe, the last town council meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
And 11B, Mayor, update on the relief funds?
Yes, I kind of want to give a brief update to the council and those that are watching. Just a quick update, so for some of the ARPA funds, for the ambulance, for the general equipment, medical supplies, was $336,163. As of right now, it looks like they've expended about $75,000 of that money. The reservoir dam, the repair, which is $1.2 million, as Jack talked about. Currently, we have not expended any of those funds as of right now, Jack, but we're going to be going through an RFP process, and then the project will be beginning to work then. The ARPA business grants, which was allocated $395,000. Right now, it looks like we have allocated about $295,000 of those. I believe 42 or 43 we've already approved of the grants from 79, and I believe there's 5 in the queue, and we're still getting more applications for that. As far as the fire marshal, and that is the Motorola and ESCO capital that we needed. Those are those walkie-talkies and whatnot. They've expended so far, it looks like $38,262 on that. On the Arpa Sullivan Farm, the personnel, that's where we hired 2 people for 2 years. Currently, it looks like they've expended so far, looks like 100, I'm trying to read this here. Looks like about $30,953. For the ARPA for the police department, that was $103,175. That has been expended. That was for the, it looks like for the de-escalation simulator and the traffic signs that we did. Let's see, you've got the fire burning building. That was $410,525, and that was for the fire department, and that has not been expended yet as they're continuing with their RFP process for the building. The Sullivan Farm roof, which was $64,000, that was fully expended, and the roof has been put on. Looks beautiful there at Sullivan Farm. Northville Fire Department, they had $104,714 for their different various equipments that they've done, and it looks like they've expended $61,488.82 so far. Water Witch was at $85,058, and it looks like they've expended just about all. I think they have $391 left. Gaylordsville Fire Department, they had looks like $312,420, and they still have about $284,041. I'm sorry, they have $85,339 left in their account so far. The youth agency, we put in for personnel for 2 positions, and they're currently being filled. And let's see, they have, that includes FICA and Medicaid and insurance. The JPC roof was $150,000 for a roof repair. And Jack, do you know where we are with that so far?
Yeah, we spent, I think, $5,000 to $10,000 study the roof. We had an infrared study, scan of it, and now we're taking that information and we'll work with the contractor to start repairing it.
And we have, through the Arpa, the Senior Advisory Board, where they help those seniors in need, and that's on a case-by-case basis. And that was $75,137, and they have currently spent, it looks like, about $9,000 so far. Arpa infrastructure, as our IT director was talking about before, that was $292,423. Looks like most of that's either been expended or it's been encumbered for capital that's coming in. Social services had a freezer, that was for $7,500, and that was that purchase was done for $6,898, which left $602 left in that one. The Good Samaritan Fund that the town council approved for use through social services, that was for $100,000. Currently, there's $97,799 left in that account. Hope Fund, the same thing. That's $94,455.01 left, and as I said, that's on a case-by-case basis, reviewed by the Social Services Department for those in need. The American Relief Fund for the Park and Rec Disc Golf, which is up and running now, and they already have leagues that they're putting in there already. That's up at Cladder Valley. If you get a chance, definitely take a look at that. That was for $9,880. Came to $9,384, so it's $495 left. The Harrybrook Bridge, which was for $126,000. And I spoke with the board, and the good news is it wasn't the amount, it was less, to the tune of about $43,000 savings. So the check was issued to the town of New Milford, and that will be reinstituted into this pot here, where we can reconfigure additional monies and additional funding for American Relief things. The Park and Rec, the movie theater, which was for $23,945, and that was actually fully funded. And good news is, I believe on the 25th, we're actually doing our first movie at Lendemi, free to New Milford residents, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. And I'm trying to remember the name.
I just saw it.
Hook,
What
that's
is
it. Hook.
Hook.
So we'll be pushing that out. It's a wonderful event for our residents to get out, some fresh air, and enjoy Lindeming, and a great movie. So thank you to Laura Murphy. And Dave and his team were out there too, as well as our maintainers, making sure that that worked out as well. We also did for the sewer camera, that was $38,000, and that was fully expended. Also, the let's see, we have the nonprofit grants at $125,000. So far, $55,000 has been expended in that, and we continue to take on applications for that as well. We also approved money for the ambulance operations managers, 2 years for that, and that's Arnie, and he continues. He's been working there for about 3 or 4 months now, and he continues to work there. The VFW roof kitchen, which was for $100,000, that just came through the purchasing authority. And Jack, you guys are going to make your decision, right, on that?
Yeah, we met today, and I've written the recommendation to the purchasing authority for this week.
And then we have the COVID fund, which is $500,000 put aside for COVID funding, and currently that is at $500,000. And then we also put aside $500,000 as a match for the communities grants fund and the revitalization of the downtown, and they're currently working on an RFP for that as well. And that's what I got.
Repeat the Good Samaritan.
Sure.
It's $100,000 we allocated, and how much has
Yep,
been spent?
Good Samaritan, let me go back to that. Good Samaritan.
Did I hear you right? 3,000 has been spent?
About 2,000.
It's right.
Because I think that maybe we need to
Good Samaritan, there it
get
is.
the word out, because that troubles me after COVID, that, you know, we all thought there was a really profound need for, you know, helping people out.
Yeah, it's about $3,000 so far
So
it's been used
I
there.
worry that that's being, you know,
I can,
that's
yeah, I
a
can,
troubling number to me, yeah.
and I can also ask at the next meeting for Ivana to come.
Okay.
And talk to the council before with that.
I know they have
They have other funds
They have
too.
put the word out, but they, yeah, I was just gonna say, they also have spent some money from the other funds they
So
have.
through the Hope Fund, they have, because with ARPA, you have to show a tangible need, why you'd be using these funds, how COVID affected you, whereas through the other Hope, correct, through the other Hope Fund that's not ARPA, I think they have more flexibility.
Right.
Than we could, but I agree
Okay.
with you, that
Okay.
was troubling to me too.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
The
Now
only
we
other,
have-
I'm sorry, just one last
I-
thing.
Sure.
I wonder if the public has access to these numbers, because on here, I noticed there isn't a total on the town website, you know, just to sort of keep everybody in the most up-to-date loop
We
of
can
what we have expended only, not what they've
That should-
spent, not what you just went through, but I mean, what we have allocated as a council.
There should be, when you go into the website under
So I'm
community.
looking at it, and
Should be
there's
there.
no total, and there's a little, so that we have, the sober housing vouchers, 33,000, and then when we have addiction services, 24,000. So that's a double, because the total, isn't it just total that we got was 33?
No.
9 and
There were-
24?
I think there were two
No, there were
separate
two appropriations.
allocations
Right,
for that.
9,024 was what was appropriated.
I remember the 33.
Right, it was the
I'd have to
total
go
of
back and
33,
look it up.
because, so this 24 is being double.
Oh, so it's
double
left on
put.
there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take
I
it and
see.
put it to vouchers, since
Yeah.
we just
I'll
heard
take-
we need more vouchers, and there appears
take a
to be
look,
some
Hillary.
extra. Yeah, that would be great if
Absolutely.
we could just say,
Absolutely.
come get 12,000 more.
Okay. Item 11C that was added, for discussion regarding a reimbursement of the $3,000 spent to the New Milford Police Department from Tony Morrissey's day
I'd
of...
like to speak to that if I could. So I spoke to Mr. Morrissey at the event. Mr. Morrissey did talk about the fact that, you know, there was a cost involved for the event. And I recommended to Mr. Morrissey, because he does have a nonprofit, that he could apply for the ARPA nonprofit, which is $5,000. So my recommendation would be for Mr. Morrissey to apply for the nonprofit. Instead of getting $3,000, he would get $5,000. And I offered that to Mr. Morrissey to do that, so that that would then defray the costs of the police officers.
show that he can't cover the cost of the police for ARPA funding, right?
Well, as I asked Mr. Morrissey with the ARPA funding, was your donations less in the year 2020 or 2021 comparative to when you first started? And he told me that obviously, like everybody, they suffered during COVID, so that would then show revenue reduction, which then would automatically qualify him for the funding.
He's a pretty brand new, he just got the
Right.
certification, so I don't know if that would.
I don't think it matters. I have a question. We have, obviously, we close roads around here all the time for races and things like this. Do those groups, like Run Santa Run, we'll take as an example, it's right here.
Yes.
They also pay for the police department to support and the safety and all that, right? Traffic control?
There's festivals as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have our invoice yet.
Yeah.
We
Right.
understand there's
Right.
fees involved.
And they're all the same amount of fees?
It depends.
Depends on the
Yeah.
resource.
Yeah, it depends on how big your event is and how many
And where it is.
intersections and where it is and whatnot.
So running in town versus running down Young's Field, a little different, so.
But I would think for efficiency and speed, I would recommend going through the ARPA route through the nonprofit, because if not, you're gonna do this, then it's gotta go to board finance, and then it's gotta go to a town meeting, So then you have all these processes for the $3,000 when he could apply for the funding through ARPA nonprofit, which is what
Right.
it's used for. And as we all know from what we've heard before, there are people that need this assistance that definitely have been affected by COVID.
And he would have, I know it's a young
Yeah, they just.
nonprofit, but he could still show that he had a loss or a dip or whatever you want to call it. I can't imagine that he doesn't, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a question. Pete, has anybody else in town applied to the Arpa nonprofit?
Absolutely.
Lots of people.
Okay.
Lots of people so far.
Okay, and have they received,
Yes, they have.
checks from them?
Yep.
Okay, and how fast was it, the turnaround?
Well, it would all be dependent on Mary Jane. So we asked for like the 990s. So if people, and then they have the little application, I think it's one page to fill out. So if they did that, it's very quick. But if they forget their 990s or they don't have the right information on the application, then you have to go back to them and get that stuff to make it proper. So if they have all that filled out, it's very quick. I'm probably going to tell you it's probably a week, right, Katie? 10 days tops.
If you put your tax information in the 990s and you do this one-page informational, it's the facts are what they use.
20 pages, did you say?
No, it's one page. One
Oh, one
page
page.
plus your tax returns for the 2 years, or however, whatever you have to show, and then your 990s. And if it shows that you've had a loss, that it's facts. There's no bias or anything. It's just if you are a nonprofit and you had a loss based upon COVID, then you qualify. 5,000.
How much money do we have left in the fund
For that line? In total?
in the ARPA fund? How much
Oh,
money is left?
altogether. We have another
Of the 7.9 million, which is left.
Oh, fully? I think we got about 200 and some thousand left.
Plus 24.
Plus that, we
Yeah.
have to check that to, what list were you looking at that showed it still there? On the
And we have
website?
till when, 2024?
2024.
To,
The town
2024.
website.
So in other words, if Mr. Morrissey's organization applies for this money and they, for some reason, are denied, and I don't know, if he's got, because he just did this last year, you said he needs tax returns for 2 years?
Well,
We would
yeah.
look and see how long he's been
Right.
involved as a nonprofit. You'd look to see if COVID had impacted him, first of all, in a financial way,
Right.
and then second of all, who is the end users going to be? So we all know that there are people at need that COVID has really impacted, especially those with mental health issues, especially those with drug addiction. Those have been heavily impacted by COVID.
I think it'd be hard to argue that there isn't a
So-
COVID tie
All
there.
right, so
Just,
if he applies for the fund and gets denied, then he can come back to the town and apply for the
Absolutely.
regular ARPA fund?
right.
Absolutely.
Right. And, yeah, and it's the application is right on the, on the town website, and I think you'd be surprised how it's pretty simple.
I think one of the things that Tony was hoping for is that there would be a clear message to the community that the town was really working with him, and that included then helping to provide the services.
I've told Mr. Morrissey the town would be more than happy. I think our town, if you look at other towns, has gone above and beyond. I don't think there's any town besides town in Milford who's given money for sober houses. I don't think there's been any town, right? We've also been right, Katie? We've also been a welcoming town.
That's right.
We've also talked about setting up mental health
Sustainable,
clinics.
welcoming.
We also
more
looked at
sober houses.
partnering with sober houses. But I 1,000% agree with Mr. Morrissey that there's a ton more stuff we need to do. Absolutely.
Nobody's
I
declaring
agree.
victory in this thing.
And you just have to
Contrary
look
what
at
I'm
it,
saying,
you just
yeah.
have to be sure that what you do for one, we have, as I said, ARPA for one does not really allow for bias because of the reason necessarily, as long as you meet the criteria. And as we know from the beginning with ARPA, that we need very much to comply with the criteria. But I think just applying for it, you'd be surprised, get it, and he can go from there.
And I also agree with
Other
him.
grants and
If he doesn't get
things.
And I also
yeah.
agree as well as, I believe we got our first small payment, right, from the small one? Randy? Yeah, for opioids. So I think we need to sit down as a
As
town
he
council
suggested, too.
and sit down and figure out, okay, we're gonna be getting this money. What do we wanna, where do you want it to go? What do we want it to look at?
There are other organizations, you know, there's the New Milford, used to be the Substance Abuse Prevention Council, which, Hillary, you remember, and MCAN, and I believe there's even a couple of others that I'm not familiar with their name, but we have, you know, at least those 2 or 3 that are they exist for substance abuse prevention, awareness, and counseling and rehabilitation as well, all those things. So perhaps that would be a good place to start, would be to get those groups together and have them share their thoughts and ideas about things.
Yeah, because I also think with that amount of money, we could actually even use some of the money we have allocated towards consultants to maybe bring somebody in who has done, you know, a program in a town our size, and what do they do? How do they, you know, what are the most effective addiction, you know, get our kids before they have problems, programs out there? What does it cost? What does it look like? How could we do it? You know, I think that could be really
Well, we
interesting
do
to
have
hear.
consultants already on the job in both the schools and also in our youth agency. And
I think I mean someone who sort of oversees it all from a town perspective, do you know what I mean? And could maybe guide us, I don't know, just a thought.
That's what I was saying, is if we could get the entities that are currently involved in this, that'd be something for them to look into, right, and see. I mean, if there's a better mousetrap for this, then they'd know better than we would. So, okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Mary Jane?